say days. Hunting for the cheese like a mouse in a maze. Been down all my life, mama thought it was a phase. Same OG, guess I'm stuck in my ways. Last night I had a dream.
Welcome to Neutral Voices, the place where your voice matters. And this is our live segment.
Yes,
Y'all know what's live?
Yes,
Yes.
it's live.
Where we do what?
We laugh. We inspire.
Inspire.
We vibe and we educate.
All right. Eventually, y'all will get.
I got it. I'm on it.
I'm all over it.
I know y'all know what it is.
Yeah, I'm all over it.
Okay. Listen, we don't have time to play today. It has been a lot going on with Trump again.
Yes.
So the whole impeachment
Yes.
thing, it's not over. So they still got another process to go
Yes,
through.
they have to have the hearings.
Yes, but they're getting it done.
Yes.
Yeah. So listen, we got a lot of stuff we're gonna talk about. We're talking about the election and the integrity of the election.
Yes.
And so when I think about that, I mean, we have to come with a whole lot of notes today.
Oh, man.
We pulled the book out.
Oh, we pulled it out.
Man.
It's all out here.
You know, when
Three
Clarence
keys to
has
read.
notes, we're in trouble.
Exactly.
Whoever comes with notes.
Right. I was gonna say, so Jill, first of all, we're gonna let you break down the word integrity.
Okay, so integrity by definition. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness. I think we all know what integrity is and what it encompasses.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to watch a short, very brief video that's kind of going to just introduce what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Right.
Right.
Watch with us.
In the freest nation in the world, our system of government and our very liberty depend on free and fair elections. Whether they're selecting a mayor or the president of the United States, every American must be able to trust the process or the democratic system itself breaks down. When someone commits voter fraud, the process is no longer fair. Everyone's vote gets diluted, and in some cases, election results are changed. Contrary to the claims of many on the left, voter fraud is a very real problem. As a
Well, let's get ready to talk about Indiana.
It was. So
Interested.
Indiana actually is one of those that were mentioned. So right here locally and nationally, the elections, the integrity of the elections and the government is a huge problem. It's all over the news right now, regardless of where you look.
Right.
Integrity, period. So when I was doing some research, there is a study called the Corruption Perceptions Index. It's a CPI, fancy word. Okay. Anyways, they rate governments from 1 to 100 as far as how corrupt they are. Where do you think the U.S. stands as
At
far
100.
as 1 to 100?
At 100.
We're somewhere around 70-ish.
No.
We
yeah,
are at
100.
69 with the average score being 43.
I was almost
that's
right.
good.
So, but here's the thing about that is 2 out of every 3 countries are below 50.
Yes.
So really, when you look at it in that light, but it's actually a pretty cool study. I didn't bring all the 27,000 pages with me, but I really just wanted to see where, we ranked.
It would have been cool to know where we were before.
Well, this is actually, I'm going to get to that because actually, no, I'm not. That's later. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Yeah, save that. Save some of that good stuff for later in the show.
So basically, I just wanted to mention, too, that today is National Peach Dessert Day. Seriously, which is super fitting. So we're going to throw
We got
that out
peaches
there.
in the back.
do we have
Peach
peaches
pie,
in the back?
peaches,
But anytime with integrity, when you have people that do not trust in the government or do not trust in elections, I mean, that leads to a lot of different things. Right now, it really erodes the public's confidence in the government as a whole or in Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, really.
Yes.
So basically, to curb corruption, the governments, there's a lot of things that they can do themselves that have absolutely nothing to do with us. Such as strengthen checks and balances, which we were talking about earlier, limit the influence of big money in politics, but most importantly, to not just listen to those who are wealthy and of political affiliations, because decisions in poverty do not get made at that level.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
the government needs to include all people to make these decisions. Otherwise, they are keeping us at poverty level, which is exactly what the government, that's where they want us to be, if we're being real.
Right.
So when we think of the integrity of the elections and the governments, I mean, it all trickles downhill. And once you dig into it, it's a giant mess.
It's a mess. And then when you start talking about integrity, it makes me think about the poll. And so, they were talking about a lot of conspiracies at the poll and a lot of negative and somebody hiding ballots and recounting the ballots and different things like that. So, I'm thinking instead of the poll watching, it was some poll dancing going on. I don't know.
You had a whole different ball.
Okay.
Somewhere else.
Okay.
Somewhere else.
Well, and I also think that we as Americans are almost trained to never question the validity of these things.
That's right.
And just to give you an idea, right now, Americans' trust in the government is at the low of 17%. It's the lowest it's ever been. That study was from last year. 17%.
I mean, how can you trust somebody that they just won't reveal anything? They'll give you some money and hide it under a bunch of paperwork.
And we know that they never will reveal anything.
Right.
Yeah.
They never will.
So you have a list of things that they can do to make things better as far as the elections moving forward to rebuild that integrity. Maybe anything. what can we look forward to?
I think
the
biggest thing too is the integrity of the media.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what's going on in the government, what's going on with President Trump, we are only going to see what the media shows us.
Right.
People do not think for themselves anymore. And just to give you an idea, I'm not endorsing Trump by any means. But what I am saying is I found a list of his accomplishments today, but you don't hear about that.
No,
you hear
don't.
about
That's
when
true.
Trump is a pompous bleep. You hear about the stupid things that he says. You don't hear about the things that he has done. And I mean, there are so many different things that he's done that we're going to touch on, but nobody tells us about that. So when we talk about integrity, we also are talking about the integrity of the media. That's where we get our information.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I mean, if you don't do your studying on your own, well, who do you have to listen to?
The media.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could tell you anything in the world. I could tell you the sky is purple 100,000 times, and all you're going to listen to is what I'm saying. The sky is purple.
Right.
And we all know the sky is blue.
But people trust the media. That's why part of the reason everybody wants Trump out of there, because they don't know about his accomplishments. They just know about the stupid things that he said because it's blown up all over
I
the place.
can't 100% agree with that.
Well, I mean,
I can't 100%
you can't?
agree with that. No.
I mean, you have to look at it. Trump
can't.
is a puppet. Trump is
Absolutely.
truly a
Yes,
puppet.
yes.
So everything was done strategically.
I can give you that. I mean,
So, and then
politicians normally are.
with Trump not being a politician, he's a businessman.
I give
So
you that.
at the end of the day, he's talking from a businessman mind.
I give
So
you
he gonna say what he want to say, feel how he want to feel, do what he want to do. And if he didn't line himself up with the government and to be the pawn that they thought he was gonna be.
right. But I think his accomplishments are only accredited by the time we're in our time in.
But is it true that he's had more accomplishments than any past president?
I don't agree with that. And I
You
wish,
know?
and I'm gonna
Wait,
bring y'all that. because
Wait, y'all
I know
got
a
so much
president-
good
I mean,
stuff
I
going
want-
on.
That was better.
Wait,
than-
wait,
I mean, I want to hear this one because I mean, we need to break this down.
I'm sorry.
This
Wait.
one need to be broken down.
We're gonna get into that.
Well, y'all got so much good stuff to break down. I was hearing conspiracy theory on the end here. E. I mean, you were saying that you believe somebody else was putting
Well,
Trump
he's a
up there to
puppet. He
do
was
something.
a puppet. That's all he was. He was a puppet.
Okay.
He did.
Being manipulated by somebody else.
I mean, he was
Higher,
a puppet.
higher.
And I'm
It's
just
higher,
saying.
It's higher. I mean, you look at the biggest thing is, I honestly look at Trump as a businessman. He's not a politician. He gonna say what he want to say. He gonna do what he want to do. But on top of that, he did one thing that I'm with.
Okay.
He made sure the election was transparent.
Wait a minute.
He made sure that by
What about
by taking it through
the
all.
collusion?
Hey, he made up all this stuff, so you had to go through all
Come
steps.
on. You can't say he was doing things transparent because he
Wasn't. I didn't say he was doing things transparent.
Okay.
I say he made the election become more transparent.
Okay, all right. He revealed some of that nastiness happening
Yeah, I mean, he
behind the
revealed.
scene.
Well, it wasn't nothing behind the scene. He
Well,
made
based on his ignorance and some of the moves he was making, that's
some of the stuff
what,
that he was doing. True, but he went through every step. He exhausted every step to make sure that Joe Biden won. Even though he still said, even though he still said it was rigged, but the courts had to listen to what he had to say, even if he was wrong.
Okay.
That's
So
a
he-
very valid point.
I just
can
had to
give you
be
that.
clear
I
'cause I
studied a
thought
little
you
bit.
was going
Yeah,
somewhere
I studied
else.
Just a little bit.
Okay, I had
mean,
to make
it-
sure our viewers are clear. You are listening to
Yeah.
and watching Neutral
Try to
Voices.
say a
This
little
is
bit.
our Wednesday segment, and we are covering the election, the integrity of the election.
So I mean, by him going through all that and still end up losing, the country seen what
The
you know,
truth,
Yeah, the truth. The country seen everything.
the mess.
So I mean, even with the Georgia count, I mean, runoff.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, even with the runoff, he still said, "Oh, that was false." Okay, show me. Give me the proof that was false. We'll sit down and listen to it, even though we know it wasn't false.
Okay.
We gonna listen to you, and we gonna put it all out in the forefront. And then on top of that, you can't listen to the media because the media is not going to give you everything. They're going to give you what they want you to hear
I get it.
and what
That's
you want
right.
to see and make you feel like, oh, that did happen.
I think
no,
you-
it
I
didn't
think-
happen.
Yeah, we all agree that the media will manipulate the message.
Clarence didn't
what
agree.
were-
Clarence
I was
didn't
going to say, so
agree.
Clarence, what were you going to add to that?
Come on with it, Clarence.
First and foremost.
Oh,
First and foremost,
First and
do you
foremost.
need to take your jacket off?
No,
You
no,
all
I'm
right?
cool.
Okay.
For everybody that took government in summer school and didn't get it when
That
they were
was
in
me.
school, I'm gonna hit y'all with some things. You are correct as Trump taking us through the court system, showing how the election had to be certified. I would give you that. That had to be done. It had to be worked like that. But his motives was different. His operations were wrong, but the way he did it was right. I'll give you that. And for the media and things, this is not the first time it has happened. Let's go back to Bush and Gore.
Come on.
Al Gore did the same thing. The
Yep.
only thing was we didn't have social media. That's the only difference now. It's the social media.
But it's a huge difference.
Hold you tight.
Oh, he got so much
Yo,
good stuff to say,
yo,
and I'm
social
so
media-
excited to hear what
social
you have to
media
say.
is just so instant, and a lot of stuff get distorted because anybody can put anything out on social media. Social media is not valid media.
It's not valid.
I
media.
think we
Well,
have a caller.
okay. I'm gonna tell you.
I hate to stop the flow. I hate to stop the
I
flow,
was about to
but
go with you.
we do have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi there. Do you have a question or a comment?
Well, yes, I watched the show yesterday. Right to call in. You guys were taking calls. So, I thought you guys were talking about the Proud Boys. I actually did some research about them a few months ago. I never heard of them before. And I noticed you guys all on that internet. You all thought they were like a
Hey, Ben.
racist group. Yes.
Hey, Ben. Do you have it on speakerphone?
Yeah, you're on speaker.
Can you take it off? Because it's kind of like doing vibrating things.
It's giving us some reverb.
Gotcha. Is this better?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Ben. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
So back to where I was talking about.
Perfect.
So everybody was talking about the Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm no fan of them either, but I did do some research on them. And I challenged your panel, since you all agreed in unison they were like a white supremacist group. If you guys name one thing they've done that's actually that's racist or white supremacist. Because I saw an interview from that Enrico Tarrio on CNN, and he actually denounced white supremacy and he denounced racism. So I thought it was odd that everybody kind of thinks that. The only organization I've seen that's accused them of being racist is the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is really has no credibility after they just lost a few big lawsuits recently. So I just wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that. Then we'll talk about election integrity when we're done.
Okay. Sounds good. Who wants to address that?
Oh, can I go? Ben, are you there with me?
I'm here.
Okay, first of all, I got to ask you, how far did you research the Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys. I know that their founder was Gavin McInnes. I know they were founded in 2016. I know Gavin McInnes is kind of a weirdo. He's not a guy that I take serious whatsoever. I know the group itself is basically an activist group. They got their name, well, like you said yesterday, they got their name from some cartoon. They're not a group that I take serious, but they're also not a group that has done anything racist. And if they have, I'd love to hear an example.
All right, Ben, do you understand? And that's why I want to know how far your research been. Gavin, that you spoke of, did you know what he built and why he left the Proud Boys?
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. Say it again.
Do you know why Gavin disassociated himself from the Proud Boys?
No, there's a lot of different conflicting reported on it. I don't take the guy serious enough to really care to begin with.
Okay, see, that's the problem. That's the problem. You're not getting the full story. Gavin left the Proud Boys because it was built on premises of white supremacy. He stated that when he founded it, it was to be a group of patriots, but the people that joined the Proud Boys were from racist factions. Therefore, he distanced himself from that because he no longer believed in the premise in which they were standing for. Research.
Right, and I've heard that. The problem is I saw an interview with Enrico Tarrio just last year, and he said the opposite. He said he denounces any type of white supremacy. So if he's the leader and he openly denounces it, either he's lying or is there some trail of something they've done that's racist? Like, what have they actually done?
They were in partnership with the alt-right in Charlottesville. Research that.
The alt-right is not, I've researched that, the alt-right is not connected to them.
Yes, they
In
were.
fact, the alt-right supported Joe Biden in this election.
Pause. Pump your brakes now. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. Listen to what I'm saying. I want you to hear me clearly. At the time of Charlottesville, it was the alt-right and the Proud Boys that were there. Do the research.
I did do the research, and there's a lot more factions than just that there.
I know there was a
There's
lot
four
more
factions.
factions, but if
You're
you
wrong,
look at
there were
the
four
main
factions there.
two factions that were there, it was
Okay.
the Proud Boys and the alt-right.
Incorrect. There's more people there than that.
I didn't say they weren't more. I said if you look at the research and say who were the main groups there.
Okay, it looked like people need
Hey,
to do some
Ben.
research.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben. So I just want to take this from a different perspective. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Okay, lovely. So basically, what I see is I don't see a lot of racist actions towards the black community from this group. But what I see is how it's viewed so differently from everyone because these are white people. So I don't look at this group and see a white group that hates the black race. I see a white group that is getting away with so much more than they would be if they were black. That's my perspective.
Okay, so what have they gotten away with?
Climbing the
what
walls.
they're doing. Look, I mean,
Climbing the
look what
wall.
they're doing.
Walking on the grass.
You guys are all laughing, but I want specific examples.
So I'll give you an example.
Climbing the walls.
I'll give you an example. So my daughter is 14 and white. And the other day she came to me and she said, Mom, did you see those people climbing that wall? Do you know if those people were black, they would have never made it
Executed.
across the street? And that is the kid. And you know that, Ben. I know that you're very intelligent. You know that it would have been a completely different reaction had the Proud Aladdin boys been black.
I actually disagree because I got away with burning the church 2 months ago on Capitol Hill. So I mean, I disagree with that statement.
Hold on.
And
Ben,
Go ahead.
when the Black Lives Matter movement went to the Capitol Hill, the National Guard was already there the night before.
right.
Okay, when your guys, your Proud Boys, the Proud Boys, and whoever
Homeboys.
hit
Oh boys, what you talking about, man?
the boys, Proud Boys, or whoever, when they got there to the Capitol building, it was only the Capitol Police there. Am I correct?
Yeah, Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you trying to say what have they done? take a look at. Go back and watch what happened on Wednesday. They didn't deploy the National Guard.
Hold on. You need to pump your brakes a little bit.
They didn't deploy the National Guard. They did not deploy the National Guard till later on that night. But like I said, like we said, had it been Black Lives Matter movement like they did a few weeks ahead of them, they would have already had the National Guard there. But being
how do you know that? That's speculation. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter took over police districts.
Bro, come on, man. They took over police districts. Your Proud Boys took over the Capitol building. Next.
Well,
For 2 hours. They took over government buildings for 30 days and call it trial.
Y'all took over the main government building in the United States.
Ben, you are so awesome. We thank you so much for calling in. And I tell you, I know you had something you wanted to mention about the election. So I hate to leave this. It's so interesting. And I enjoy you guys talking back and forth. But is there anything you want to say in regards to the integrity of the election before we go? Because it sounds like we need to do a little bit more research on both ends, maybe. I don't know. But I'm sure you guys will. What do you have?
I've done plenty of research, so we'll leave it there.
Ben, I knew you'd be a good one for this.
So is there anything you want to say about the integrity of the election?
Well, as far as the integrity of the election goes, I would like to see an actual forensic audit of the ballots. Because the reason I say that is right now about 40% of Americans don't believe in the results of the election. 17% are Democrats. 31% are independents. So just because of that alone, I think there should be a more transparent audit of the election. That's just my opinion. But I know a lot of people don't trust the results because we've seen with our own 2 eyes.
Right.
We've actually seen people polling ballots from underneath desks and running them through machines over and over again. The Secretary of State denounced it without actually doing a sworn statement and putting himself under perjury. But there is evidence that we've seen with our own 2 eyes. But without getting into the weeds on that, let's talk about the way that they actually changed the election laws unconstitutionally. Because if you look at the election clause in the Constitution, it says state legislatures have the sole authority to dictate how the election takes place. Not activist governors, not these random politicians that are trying to use health laws as a preface to change election laws in the 11th hour before an election. So that kind of stuff's got to be looked at. I'm no election expert myself, obviously, but I do have questions, and none of them have been answered yet.
Well, Ben, I am going to agree with you on a lot of that. You have done your research. I'm going to agree with you on a lot of that. But that's just not one-sided. That is on both sides. And that was not just in this election. That has been in almost every election that has been.
No, wrong.
I mean,
not every election has been this stuff.
I agree with you on that one because of the narrative that was set before it. I think the narrative dictated a lot of the disbelief. I'm not discounting your what you said, because what you said is true about a lot of what's going on. But I think the narrative set the stage for what we're seeing today.
Well, the narrative, I would say there's a little bit more than a narrative. The fact that they actually changed election laws, states changed their normal processes for the first time ever.
But
and as a result, we have hundreds of these numeric anomalies we've never seen before in elections. Now, whether those are legit or not, I don't know, but I do have questions.
Right. We always appreciate your insight, Ben, and thank you so much for calling.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, Ben.
Yep, enjoy the show. Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
So I know I was just going to say, so you guys could have really just back and forth all night.
No, you're good.
But I just want to, be clear on that last part when he was talking about the different things that they changed. So not to go down that road, because I know we have some other stuff to cover. But a lot of things were changed because of COVID, and a lot of things we couldn't do. And I think people need to remember that too.
Right.
And, some of those small things that interfered with and made people think some crooked stuff was going on. It was simple things. Some of the senior citizens were putting their voting ballots in and not signing it clear enough, or not sealing it, or not putting it in a proper envelope, and different things like that. So, where some people may think, oh, it was cheating, instead of just correcting the mistake.
Right.
So,
And,
but so
I'm gonna let you go
Clarence,
with your
I
point.
think
and
you
then-
had something.
Well, my point goes into what you're saying, but I'm gonna let you hit your point. And then we're gonna go
we
into
have really changed a few things here. So, I was going to mention the independence of the election. And basically, I believe people have been put in a position where they don't feel like they're kind of like this. You vote, but you don't feel like it matters either way. So, as far as the independence, we need to establish that people have liberty and freedom. But what we saw on Capitol Hill and the threats that we're receiving, all of the people that's receiving threats all over the place, it's like your independence has been taken away because you don't feel like you have that liberty to say, I am a Democrat or I am a Republican.
Right.
So, so that has been compromised. So we can talk about that, but I know you guys have so many other things
if you
want to
look at
mention.
it like that, the biggest thing is any house that's divided can't stand.
Yes.
Right.
So if you go back to having one solid government that stand on, it would be a lot better.
Yeah.
But you sitting when you got this side and this side, hey, it's not even balanced on top of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it me?
I know you had. That's why I want you
Is
to.
it me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. First of all, Ben, I really hope that you're still with us. In no disrespect, I just want to give you some more enlightenment because you did speak on something about governmental laws and constitutional laws against voting. If you know, and you have to pay attention to history, the constitutional laws of voting had to be changed because there were different things that changed, that the Constitution is still in place, but the world has evolved. If you think about it, Ben, women did not have the right to vote. So they had to make a clause that women were allowed to vote. Black people weren't allowed to vote. So they had to make a clause that allowed black people to vote. So yes, the legislation and the state legislation and all that had to change to allow these people the right to vote. So that's where we are right now about the fairness of elections.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to tell you, not every election is fair. Not every election is fair. You mentioned it, Jill mentioned it. First of all, for it to be independent and for it to be transparent and for it to have integrity, we have to take the dollar signs out of the election.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing.
That's the first thing. Corporations, PACs, lobbyists, and a lot of those groups dictate a lot of the elections because they're not voting for people. They're voting for policies
Right.
and things that are trying to get passed that will benefit them or change things in their favor. So they're in the Capitol building, they're in the White House, they're in state houses, lobbying, paying people
Right.
to change. Well, they're not paying them. They're giving contributions to campaigns and people.
Talking about that $1,000 a plate dinner.
Yes. So they're giving these. So the problem is, and I gotta say this, and I'm gonna let everybody know. If you are poor white, if you are poor black, the government doesn't care about us. Why we're fighting against each other amazes me. Because they don't care about if you're poor white or if you're poor black. If you don't have the money to influence them, they don't care about you. The fairness of the election comes where, and I got to tell you, you have to get out and vote. That's where they have the problem. People are actually voting now.
Right.
Where they didn't worry about us voting, they didn't have to worry about it. So they didn't have to worry about us being a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're voting, we are a problem. Why did they close? It's not fair. They closed precincts in Atlanta and Cleveland and Cincinnati and Washington, D.C. and Orlando, Florida and Jacksonville, Florida, black precincts that they made black people go to out of their way to get they even did it here in Fort Wayne. Look at your last time you voted in your precinct. Now, I guarantee your
That's
precinct
mine
has
changed. It did.
Clarence, even if
Absolutely.
you are not a fan of Trump, do you really believe that he lost this election?
Yes, I believe he lost this election. I believe. Because if you look at the voter turnout, the voter turnout, and people are saying that, dead people voted and all that. No, there was no validation that. Now, here's the problem. If he won it fairly or if he lost it fairly, why? Again, did they close precincts in black communities?
So if he would have won, would you have then thought it was a fair election?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not biased.
Okay.
I'm saying what happens is it's not a fair election because they find ways. The voter, actually, Indiana still has that law, but it's been shot down unconstitutionally in almost every other state against voter ID.
But do you think that comes down to the people or the government? Where do you
It's
think?
the government because they're trying to. Indiana is a Republican state.
So if the
Come on.
government
know that.
control
That's all
that,
day
then
long.
can't the
No, no,
government
no.
control the results of election?
They can if they suppress it.
Okay.
And that's what they do. With, think about it. History. We used to have to prove we could read the vote. That's the same thing as a ID card. They're saying, prove to me you're worthy enough to vote. That you can read.
But don't it
Okay,
boil
I'm gonna
down
ask you
to
a
the
question.
electorals when you
Well, I'm gonna
get
ask you a
through with it?
question,
It
though,
doesn't
Clarence.
matter if we go to the polls, et cetera, et cetera.
You saying the voter ID. You got to have an ID to vote.
Right. In Indiana.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
They say, in
What is
Here's
who
why
is
it's
they? I
unconstitutional.
keep asking telling people I need to know who they is.
the government.
Okay.
The
I'm
innocent
listening.
and Constitution.
Okay, I'm listening.
And I don't know how this is
I want to know.
I just want
I know
to
what's
give
the
y'all
problem
heads up.
of
that-
having an ID to go vote.
It's not a problem of having an ID.
Okay.
The problem is that when you set barriers, a lot of people can't think about
That's
it.
not a barrier.
Hold on. Yes, it is.
How is it a barrier? You supposed to have
I don't
an
think
ID.
it's a barrier either.
I don't think
it's-
no. I would rather for every state to have
And
you guys to have show that
let
ID.
me tell you why it's
to
a barrier.
vote.
Let me
Right.
tell you why it's a barrier.
Why? 'Cause somebody can't-
Well, let's hear
Let
from
me tell you why
Clarence.
it's a
Why is it a
barrier,
barrier?
and I'm gonna tell you why Indiana made it the way they made it.
Okay.
They made it that everybody could get a free ID.
Right.
That's why they made it for voters, so they can validate the voter ID to vote. Because
Okay.
a lot of states, they still charge for IDs.
Okay.
Indiana only got away with that because they made it free.
Okay. Well, I mean, still, what's wrong with having an ID?
It's just-
There's nothing wrong with it.
That's asking me to prove that I can read the vote.
No, it's
But
not.
yes, it is.
How is that?
It's the same thing.
How is
You
that
have-
asking you?
Hold on,
How is
hold
that
on.
proving that I gotta read? I'm gonna ask you a question. How do you identify yourself?
This is Neutral Voices.
How do you identify yourself?
We are having a
Come on.
wonderful time
Explain that
here
one to me.
this evening.
Explain that one to me, Stacks. How do you explain? I mean,
This
you
is
get
the
pulled up.
impeachment
let's
celebration.
go. Talk to me about it, bro.
Hey, we running out of time.
Oh, now we're running out of time.
I'm
Now we're running out of time.
This
We
is
in
why I
Vegas.
told you guys.
We all you gotta do is show your ID.
Make sure you
I got one more thing
get
to
your
do now,
license either
and
way.
This is about competence.
get your
We talked
ID.
about the fairness, but the competence of it is, and that's where everybody having a problem with. The ballot people they're trained in 3 days how to do the ballots in all the county. 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
3 days. Now, again, most of them are repeaters, but in 3 days, you are trained on how to run the machine and how to count votes.
Okay.
3 days. I don't think that's enough time. I do
I agree
agree
with you on
with
that.
Ben that there has to be an overall audit, but how do we get there? But yes, there's only 3 days. So I'm just saying, yes, you have to vote. The only way you make it fair is if you get out and vote. But it's gonna always be if you don't have money, if we don't have the financial means to push our agenda, we're not gonna make it. So again, I say this: a poor white man and a poor black man, we in the same boat. Y'all gotta realize that and recognize that the government treats us the same.
Right, they're acting
And
in their own interest.
Yes,
so I mean,
yeah.
it's the citizens really that suffer. It's always going to be like that.
Yeah.
So you saying we need to vote, but if you saying they only act in their own interest, what's the purpose of voting then?
Because when we are your voice matters. That's our model, right?
Right.
Once we stand up and show enforce, if our voice didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying to suppress and stop precincts in black community. There has to be a problem if they're doing this.
Okay.
And
My
your,
question,
your
like,
vote matters, and not
Your
just
vote
at the
matters.
primary. So
Yes.
that's what we
Well,
have
I mean,
to remember. There's
doing-
something that leads up to the primary, and this is what has everybody all, out of control, just all over the place.
Yeah,
The primaries. I mean, it just get hot. But I just said I have to calm us down. This is Neutral Voices.
Yeah, no.
Everybody.
you all right down there?
Yeah,
Ben's
I love
voice is amazing, and it matters.
Hey,
we
man,
want to
need
say
sit down
thank
and
you.
play chess or something.
Hey, you was on your emotion, man.
Listen, one thing that y'all, I before we get to Jill, I just want to say, because, you know, one of the things y'all didn't talk about that I wanted to hear about is the way technology interferes with
I
the
was
election
trying to
and the
get there.
hackers.
I was trying
And
to
so there's so many other things that
I was
lead
trying to
into the integrity
Yeah, we could
and
talk
the
about this for a
disinformation
long
of the
time.
election that we didn't really get to cover. But we need to leave out of here on
Yes.
a different note. So we need to hear from Jill right now.
Are you
Jill,
guys done?
I'm
Please,
good.
Am I
honey.
good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Give
You
us
sure you
something.
done? I
Give
got
us
some more.
something good.
I got some more.
Okay, nope, not right now.
No.
The beauty of the American experiment is the ability to freely question our processes and build upon the lessons learned. We cannot move forward as a nation without looking back, without scrutinizing the issues that have led millions of Americans to lose complete trust in both our election integrity as well as the total integrity of the government in its entirety. We ask that you take heart, pray, love one another. If we are speaking about the true soul of the nation, we have so much more work to do than voting a single person out of office, whether we believe we truly voted him out or not. No matter what social, political, or economic upheavals shake our nation, God is still on his throne.
Amen.
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 That's how you end that conversation.
Jesus.
Wow. Yes. God bless America. Hey, this is Neutral Voices. It's been an amazing night, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow here for our Thursday Voice of the People. So you don't want to miss that because we'll be taking calls and comments.
Please.
And we'll be
Yes,
excited to
leave
do
some
so.
comments.
Leave some
Yes.
comments.
Okay.
Oh, please, some
Yes.
comments.
Give
So
us some
again, this is Neutral Voices saying good night. See you next time.
When I say 7, y'all say days. Hunting for the cheese like a mouse in a maze. Been down all my life, mama thought it was a phase. Same OG, guess I'm stuck in my ways. Last night I had a dream.